When the average football fan thinks of PSG, two things probably come to mind: spending massive amounts on established stars of the game, and two, in spite of that spending, continuously failing to win the Champions League. Go a degree deeper in football fandom, and a lot of people think of their prolific academy and how many top players had to leave the club in order to get a chance at first team football. It does make it difficult to have any kind of conversation about PSG without all of that baggage affecting people's demeanor towards them. Hey man, I get it. I understand. Jump ahead to the present though, and PSG are in season number 2 of the Luis Enrique era, and things look drastically different at the club than they used to. For starters, Enrique fielded the youngest team in Ligue 1 history in their season opener away to Le Havre. This comes 2 years after Nasser Al-Khelaifi's interview in which he said he no longer wants a PSG that is, quote, flashy, bling bling. Beyond digging up bling bling, which nobody had heard used in a sentence for a long time, let alone used seriously, he had set the path for PSG, a new path where they move away from signing established stars and instead focus on creating their own. It's a big departure from what PSG used to do, and maybe the old way was needed from a marketing perspective, but this new path is the way to finally pull from PSG's strengths and build a much more thought out and sustainable project. On top of that, with this change, the expectations have changed as well, as there is far less pressure from expectation. So, have PSG finally figured it out?
Le 30 juin 2011, c'est dans une nouvelle ère que va entrer le football français. Le PSG, emblématique club de Ligue 1, passe officiellement sous pavillon qatari.
They didn't start to exist in 2011 when Qatari Sports Investment, or QSI, purchased them. They had a history prior to that, going back to the 70s. They also had big names playing for the club. Ronaldinho played for them prior to Qatar's involvement, as did Pochettino, Mikel Arteta, George Weah, Rai, Safet Susic, and of course, one of the icons and one of my personal favorites, Pauletta. What a guy. However, when QSI purchased PSG, they hadn't won a league title since the mid-1990s, but they were still very competitive when it came to cup competitions in France. There was always a ton of potential with PSG as far as an investment goes. The biggest and most famous club in the biggest city of France, with an unbelievable amount of local talent to pull from. Then, PSG started purchasing notable players. Javier Pastore was the big name of the first wave, Thiago Motta, Jeremy Menez, Blaise Matuidi, etc. Then they solidified this approach in the next summer, when things really popped off. Ibrahimovic, Thiago Silva, Ezequiel Lavezzi, and Marco Verratti all joined in that summer window. Lucas Moura joined in the winter, as did Beckham, but he was at the end of his career. From there, you know the story. Cavani, Di Maria, then the big one, Neymar in 2017, the most expensive transfer of all time to this day. It's still standing after 7 years. 222 million euros. Mbappé joined that same summer, where PSG would later pay out a massive 180 million euros for him. Messi would join in 2021, along with a host of other notable players like Sergio Ramos, Donnarumma, Hakimi, Wijnaldum, and more. This was the way of PSG. Big names, big transfer fees, domestic domination, but European domination or European conquests, conquering, eluding them. Minutes also never really trickled down to the incredible academy. The list of PSG players that had to move away from the club to get further opportunities is massive. Nkunku, Mike Maignan, Kingsley Coman, Moussa Diaby, Moussa Dembele, and on it goes. Rich with talent, but not enough minutes for the academy when you are signing your entire first team. What this spending did was put a target on PSG's back and invite tons of ridicule every time they would fail to win the Champions League. I mean, the homie Mackwell announces that bills are getting paid every time PSG drops out of the Champions League. You know, you can count on him to make a video on their failure once again. You have an oil-rich nation feeding you financially, and your average UCL exit is the quarterfinals. Adding to that, when you are spending like crazy and not giving chances to your unbelievable talents, that makes things even more sour for others. And it's clear that was taking them nowhere when it came to their attempts to fast-track European success, let alone charitability from the rest of the footballing world.
J'aime pas les mots révolution, pas du tout. On essaie de mettre sur place un nouvel modèle de travail.
Then there was a shift. After a single season with Lionel Messi together with Neymar and Mbappé, Nasser Al-Khelaifi spoke with Le Parisien, and one of the most quoted lines from that interview was, quote, Dreams are one thing, reality is another. Perhaps we should change our slogan. Dream bigger is good, but today we must be realistic. We don't want flashy bling bling anymore. It's the end of the glitter. It was another season of drama in the attack. Throughout PSG's recent history, since about 2017, there has always been these stories of the odd man out. First it was Cavani once Mbappé and Neymar had arrived. Then it was Mbappé once Messi had linked up with his old friend Neymar. Constant press articles on the dysfunction of the club, constant criticism of how they have run the club, and not enough stories about their success. So PSG changed course. That same summer, as the bling bling interview from El Khalifi, Luis Campos was brought on as an advisor. He's a kingmaker in Liga, as his guidance at both Lille and AS Monaco led to those teams breaking up PSG's Liga domination. Campos began changing how the club was built, hoping to lean less on established stars, and was in charge of the complete squad overhaul that PSG began. In 2022, they didn't purchase a single player over the age of 26. In 2023, both Neymar and Messi left the club. Two big focal points gone, two fewer stars and drama to have to put up with for any future manager. On top of that, they sold off players from previous generations of the club or misfits that didn't work for them. This is when they really began building for the future, as they invested heavily to cover all of the players they sold. They spent 434 million and made sales of over 200 million. The average age of those signings was 23.2 years. The biggest name as far as notoriety, if not Hernandez, absolutely Ousmane Dembele.
Well, look, he's going to become a Real Madrid player on the 1st of July. It's an open secret in the world of football.
And that shift has continued this summer. The final megastar, Kylian Mbappé, is gone. There are no more players that outshine the rest. No more players that will dominate headlines with distractions in the media, whether they want to or not. And I mean, from a manager's point of view, not only does he not have to put up with a massive personality in the dressing room that sort of steals the light from everyone else, whether intended or not, but tactically, there are no longer players who need to be carried by the rest of the team on the defensive end of things. Spare a thought for the managers that had to find a way of having Mbappé, Messi, and Neymar all in the team, while simultaneously having balance in both the attack and defense. Not easy, not something managers have to worry about now though. But anyway, once again, PSG are continuing their squad overhaul by buying young, as the average age of signings this summer has been just 21.25 years old, as the bling-bling era of the club seems to be well and truly dead following Mbappe's departure, and the continuous signing of young players that aren't international megastars. Yet. However, maybe the bling-bling era... It's weird to say, but maybe it was a necessary evil. I'm not trying to rewrite history here or anything, because PSG was absolutely trying to fast-track success through purchasing talent, and that doesn't seem to work. Success takes time, right? However, the side effect of all of that was the notoriety that PSG gained. Not only were they signing top players for ridiculous amounts of cash, but the fact remains that PSG was still consistently making it into the knockout rounds of the Champions League, year upon year. When you couple those two things together, you get some cachet in the world. With that cachet, they've been able to attract some top young players to complement their own academy products that are getting opportunities and are beginning to change their face to a team that makes great talents, or at the very least, nurtures them. That's what we can say for now, as time will tell how they turn out. But yes, when you look at it that way, while the bling bling era was a failure when it came to their main goal of winning the Champions League, it still bore fruit marketing-wise. Reputation-wise. And now, thanks to the signing of Luis Campos and Luis Enrique, they can build PSG back up in a better way. Now PSG can focus on building a more sustainable project where they create their own talents in the academy and sign future stars at a young enough age where they can all grow together, instead of that, hey, let's throw together stars approach that they had before that didn't work. Now they can lean on their strengths. They are located in a desirable city to live in. They are a massive brand now in the football world. They have massive pulling power. They pay well, and they are looking to develop stars. A lot of young players would want to be a part of this, would want to gel together with the youngsters that they already have. Look at their midfield as the best example of this. They brought in Vitinha at just 22 years old a couple years ago. This summer, they brought in 19-year-old João Neves, who already has 4 assists and 2 Ligue 1 appearances, by the way, 2 of which he can thank Barcola for. And then the final piece is 18-year-old Warren Zaire-Emery, who is one of the most recent graduates from the academy that has actually managed to break into the first team. He won't be the last, though, as I predict PSG will lean upon their goldmine of talent in the academy far more going forward. It was a travesty that they hadn't. So it does feel like PSG has finally figured things out. Like I said, the bling bling era may have been a necessary evil for them, and now under the guidance of Luis Campos and Luis Enrique, they will continue to build the club up on stronger foundations. A little less star power in the present to grow their own stars for the future. We don't know if it will work out for PSG, but I do think that this is a much better way forward for them. If you're going to invest, follow the Real Madrid method. Spend your cash on younger talents, try to get the older experienced players for lower fees, or ideally even when they're out of contract. But hey, I'd love to hear what you guys think of all of this. Will it bear fruit, or is it just another costly endeavor from them that won't get them closer to the Champions League? Do let me know, but beyond that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.